Welcome to today's video. I thought I would show you just a quick mock-up of what I've been doing with the Instacomposer. I've wrote several tracks into my master template from Instacomposer to help fill in and kind of make everything gel together. Instead of writing all those notes by hand, I simply input the master chord progression into Instacomposer. Literally just dragged a bunch of tracks out, did one edit, and I've got a rough kind of draft of, gives you kind of an idea of what you can get really quickly. Now, of course, these are going to have to be edited, but it really gets you to the ballpark and up and running, generating a lot of notes quickly so that you can go back and edit. So this is kind of, I'm in the middle of that process now. So let's just go through and play. We have four, kind of a demonstration of four tracks with MIDI notes. And these Instacomposer notes are driving mainly the elite strings here. And that's what we'll be demonstrating, these two tracks here. And just to start off with these two tracks to hear it more clearly. So now within the context of the song, let's add some tracks. So we'll add the bass, the original chords, some percussion, some phrases from ReMidi. And now we'll step through some of the keys that I have set up on my master track here. I like this little another nice one. So you can see how these MIDI tracks just kind of help things to start to gel. And then of course there's a lot more to be added on here, and but just as to give you an idea of how these this MIDI, can be generated quickly, and you can add it into your master tracks here. Like I think I've added melodies, sustains, ostinatos, and I took out 50% of the notes for one track for more sparse bits of strings here and there. And then, yeah, added a bunch of it. The thing with Instacomposer is, since I added my master progression to it, all I have to do is just hit the go button to get different ideas and drag it in. So I made a melody cello legato track, some short melody notes, and a bunch of different tracks in here, some rhythm staccato tracks. And it just gives you so much more ideas and things you can add to your main file. And since that main file can have, there's no limit to how many MIDI tracks, and it's very light on computer CPU because it's just MIDI, You know, you can add an extra 10 or 20 tracks to your master file and just play around with them, right? And I've gotten some good ideas just from these little tracks here on the Elite Violins 1 and 2. So now let's go back into the project file with the MIDI generation and just actually look at the MIDI data that was produced there. All right, so we're back now in the MIDI side of things. So this is the project where I keep all or generate all the MIDI for my main template in the song project. So here I've got Instacomposer, and I've set it up so that my main chord progression, master chord progression, which is also in scalar, and I just input it here. So we got the D sharp major, we got an F major, G minor, the A sharp major, the D minor, G minor, F major, and G minor. And so these triads are put in here, and so that all the MIDI, these when I hit go, all that MIDI will adhere to that chord progression. And that allowed me to, with all these files here, all these 20, I don't know, 24, 23 tracks, to allow me to add a bunch of extra tracks. So we're just going to go through some of the Instachord ones that we produced. But first, let's start with the regular tracks that were created by hand. And so if we look at that and zoom in here, we can see that if you create MIDI by hand by drawing it in with the pencil tool, it can take a long time, but you get a very specific and exactly what you want for like an ostinato run here, a very dramatic one, or just some kind of rhythmic pattern. But it takes time. You have to draw them in, listen to it, make edits. But you do get exactly what you want, and you can get all kinds of different interesting MIDI that will be played by several different instruments. These are mainly for strings here. But I created hundreds of very specific patterns for all kinds of musical ideas. And but it did take a long time doing this by hand. But it's something that even when I change the key of a song, I can just go in with the chord track and just quickly change the notes to be in key. And, you know, it's not a big deal. Once the actual, pattern is created and you edit the velocity down here, that's what takes the time. Changing the notes that are out of scale or key is a lot easier. But then comes along Instacomposer, which isn't going to give you such detail and such dramatic and interesting parts per se, but it will get you 80% there, which you can then go in and edit to just add some extra notes and make some changes. And so what I did was I was able to quickly start creating some Insta tracks here. Now these are a lot plainer, but that's what I want, because these tracks are kind of just fill tracks for certain instruments that I'm going to use. One might be for clarinet, one might be for some string background interest. So as I play different keys on the keyboard, you know, I want to be able to generate a lot of every bar here is going to have a different set of MIDI, a different pattern. Even though a lot of them are similar, that's also what I want, because I want to go from one key to the next with a similar pattern, but just different. I don't want huge jumps in musical themes. I just want to have nice variations as I go through all the keys, right? So that's what Instacomposer does really well. So then I did some sustains that way too. And since, again, when you drag them in, they're all going to be adhering to whatever key you're in. In this case, D sharp or E flat. So you can see that as I dragged it in, they were almost ready to go. A couple notes that I left in that just add some spice there, but I found that I went in and I actually deleted several bars in some of these tracks just to give, when I play certain keys, you don't want everything on all at the same time. That's what makes it interesting. So as I play one of my 76 keys, I'm not sure if I'm going to have that instrument be playing or not. And it just gives a lot of interest as you go through the keys. And that's exactly what this kind of orchestration template, what I was trying to achieve. So again, some of the staccato rhythmic stuff here just generated really quick, and I was able to just change whatever I needed really fast. I deleted some, made some changes, but my workflow was, I would say, 10 times faster. And so it generates the notes, the type of notes you want, rhythmic, staccatos, or more kind of legato type of sustains. With the sustains, though, here I did a sustain. I believe I added some legato overlaps. So let's just take a look at this. Not in this one. Let's go, I think it was the melody lead legato. Yeah, obviously. So, but here you can see that the notes that were generated, I simply dragged some of the notes over the note above it just to add a little bit of legato, because for this track I wanted a bunch of notes generated that would add kind of some backing legato strings or a lead string, right? And I wanted it to be more legato, so I just took the notes default. Now right now Instacomposer isn't doing legato notes, but that's again something they may add in the future, hopefully, if there's some interest in this product. But yeah, I just dragged some of those notes over to make sure that whatever instrument or string that's going to play this, it kicks in the legato a little better. But overall, the time and workflow was just increased so much I was able to add, I think I added an extra 10 tracks just really quick, all in the key and progression that I happen to be working in. So it's the way I'm really going to use it is going to be to, again, create my original MIDI up here by hand that will give me the exact patterns and structure I'm looking for. But all those filling tracks that need to be in the chord progression, that add some background tracks and interest. And I think you could make lead lines out of this quite easily. If we go with the lead legato again, it's just a matter of adding in, maybe drawing in a few extra notes here and there and testing things as you go, just to see how it's going to respond. But it gives you a very nice default base to start with, where you're just, some of these lines may be good the way they are. You may just change the odd note here and there. So I wanted to just show the way I'm using Instacomposer at the moment. And I'm sure things will change in the future as I discover some new possibilities. And I hope you're enjoying your day today, and we'll see you on the next video.